Have you ever felt your entire world crumble in just 1 second? Ethan never thought a simple text message could change everything. It was nearly midnight when his phone buzzed, a faint blue glow illuminating the dark room. He was curled up on his worn-out couch, half asleep, drowning in the exhaustion of another long workday. He reached for his phone lazily, expecting some pointless notification. But the second his eyes landed on the message, his body tensed. Unknown number. Ethan, I know this is hard to believe, but Chloe never had cancer. The words burned into his mind, each letter carrying a weight that made his stomach churn. His fingers hovered over the screen, his breath uneven. What kind of sick joke was this? Chloe, his sister, his own flesh and blood, had been battling cancer for an entire year. Their family had lived through hell because of it. The fear, the hospital visits, the endless nights of praying, hoping she would survive. He had watched his mother break down, his father sell their car, and his grandmother give up her entire retirement fund just to keep her alive. Ethan had sacrificed everything for her. And now, a stranger was telling him it was all a lie? His heartbeat pounded in his ears as he clicked on the message thread. There was more. Unknown number. I can prove it. Attached were several images and screenshots. Ethan hesitated for a second before tapping them open. The first picture made his throat tighten. It was Chloe laughing, drink in hand, at an exclusive luxury beach resort. Her arms were wrapped around her friends, all dressed in designer outfits, the ocean stretching behind them like a dream. She looked healthy, vibrant, alive, nothing like someone going through chemotherapy. His stomach clenched as he scrolled. The next image was worse. It was a bank statement. Thousands of dollars deposited into her account, money meant for her treatments. His hands trembled as he opened the next screenshot. Chloe texting someone. Elmo, people are so stupid. I told them I needed another round of chemo, and they just sent me 5Ks. Can't wait to shop this weekend. Ethan felt like he was going to be sick. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. His breathing turned shallow, his grip tightening around his phone. The donations, the fundraisers, the GoFundMe page. He had watched their father break his back working overtime shifts, watched his mother's face crumple when they couldn't afford rent, all for Chloe. And now, she was spending their suffering like it was free cash. Thump, thump, thump. His heart pounded so violently it hurt. A scream was trapped in his throat, threatening to break out. His body shook as an overwhelming wave of betrayal crashed over him. He had to confront her. Now, Ethan shot up from the couch, his blood boiling. His hands curled into fists as he stormed toward the door. His mind raced, rage and disbelief colliding in his chest like a violent storm. His sister was a liar, a fraud, a monster, and he was about to expose her. If you discovered a family member faked cancer for money, what would you do? Comment your thoughts below, like, share, and subscribe to see what happens next in this insane story. Ethan stormed out of his apartment, fists clenched, rage and betrayal burning inside him like wildfire. The cold night air barely registered as he jumped into his car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly, his knuckles turned white. The images, the texts, they kept flashing through his mind like a horror movie on repeat. 30-minute drive, 30 minutes of rehearsing every word he was going to say. How could she do this? Their parents had given up everything for her. He had given up everything for her. For what? So she could live it up at luxury resorts, drinking cocktails while they thought she was fighting for her life. As he pulled up to their childhood home, his stomach twisted in knots. The house looked the same, warm lights glowing through the windows, the faint hum of the TV playing in the living room. It was deceptive. A place that once felt like home, now nothing more than a stage for the biggest betrayal of his life. Ethan slammed the car door shut, marching up the steps with purpose. He didn't hesitate. He pounded on the front door with so much force it rattled on its hinges. Bang, bang, bang. A few seconds later, Chloe opened the door, and she looked completely unbothered. She stood there, dressed in silky pajamas, a fresh manicure, and a gold necklace that definitely wasn't there a few months ago. Her expression was one of mild annoyance, like he was some random solicitor interrupting her evening. "Ethan?" she drawled, leaning lazily against the doorframe. "What the hell are you doing here?" Ethan could barely breathe. Every part of him screamed to lash out, to yell, to demand answers. But all he could do was stare at the sister he no longer recognized. "Tell me it's not true." His voice was low, dangerously quiet. Chloe arched a perfectly shaped brow. "Tell you what's not true?" Ethan laughed, humorless and cold. He pulled out his phone and held up the damning screenshots. "This, all of this, the fake cancer, the money, the vacations, the fact that you've been scamming everyone, Mom, Dad, me for a whole damn year." For the briefest second, something flashed across Chloe's face. Guilt? Fear? No, it was amusement. "Then," she smirked, "so you finally figured it out." The room tilted. Ethan felt like the floor was collapsing beneath him. "You're admitting it?" he choked out. "I mean," she shrugged, "it's not like I could keep it a secret forever." The thump, thump, thump. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, but it was drowned out by the pure, unfiltered rage surging through his veins. "Do you even understand what you did?" His voice was shaking, but he didn't care. "Do you know what you put this family through? Mom sold her jewelry, Dad took out loans. I worked 2 jobs just to help cover your medical bills, and you were out there blowing it on designer bags." Chloe rolled her eyes. Rolled her eyes. "Relax, Ethan, it's just money." "Just money?" Ethan could feel himself spiraling. The weight of betrayal, anger, disgust pressing down on him like a vice. And then she said the one thing that shattered him completely. "Look, no one forced you guys to give me anything. You all wanted to play the supportive family role. I just let you." Silence. A deep, sickening silence. Ethan's jaw locked so tight it hurt. He wasn't sure what was worse, the fact that she had no remorse, or the fact that she was right. They had given everything willingly. They had chosen to believe her, and she had played them like fools. Ethan took a step back, hands trembling. "I'm telling Mom and Dad." His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. Chloe smirked again. "Go ahead. Let's see who they believe." Ethan stood frozen in the doorway, his breath ragged, his mind racing. Chloe's words echoed in his skull like a twisted mantra. "Go ahead. Let's see who they believe." She said it with so much confidence, so much certainty, as if she already knew the answer, as if she had won. But no, not this time. Ethan clenched his fists, stepping past her and marching straight into the living room. "Mom!" "Dad!" His voice cut through the house like a blade. The TV was still on, the warm glow flickering across the walls. Their parents, Mark and Linda, were curled up on the couch, lost in a crime drama. For a moment, they looked so peaceful, so blissfully unaware, and Ethan almost felt guilty for what he was about to do. Almost. His father looked up first, his tired eyes softening. "Ethan, you're here late." "Son." His mother glanced over, brows furrowing. Did something happen? Ethan swallowed hard, his pulse hammering against his ribs. Yes, something happened. Something terrible. He turned, pointing directly at Chloe, his voice trembling with anger. "Chloe has been lying to us this entire time. She never had cancer." Silence. The kind of silence that sucks the air out of the room. Their mother was the first to react. She laughed. "Ethan, that's not funny." Ethan's stomach dropped. "I'm not joking." His voice was sharp, urgent. "I have proof. Messages, photos, bank statements. She's been taking our money and spending it on vacations, on designer clothes, on enough." His father's voice cut through his words like a knife. Ethan turned to him, desperate. "Dad, please, just look at the evidence. You have to believe me." Mark hesitated. For a split second, Ethan saw the doubt in his father's eyes, saw the battle happening in his mind. Then Chloe spoke. "Dad, he's making this up. He's always been jealous of me." And just like that, Mark's doubt vanished. "Ethan," his father let out a heavy sigh, rubbing his temples. "I know this past year has been hard on all of us. Maybe you're stressed. Maybe you're misinterpreting something. But Chloe is sick." Ethan felt a physical ache in his chest. No, she's not. She's lying to you. To all of us. She's been using us for money. She admitted it to me just now." Linda crossed her arms, her gaze cold. "Ethan, enough of this nonsense. Your sister has been through hell and back. How dare you accuse her of something so disgusting?" Ethan's hands shook with fury. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "I'm not accusing her. I'm exposing her." Chloe sighed dramatically, stepping forward with the perfectly crafted expression of a victim. "Mom, Dad, I don't know why he's doing this. I know he's always had issues with me. But this, accusing me of lying about cancer?" She placed a hand over her chest. "That's low, even for him." Mark and Linda turned toward Ethan, their faces darkening. "Apologize," their mother said, her voice like steel. Ethan staggered back. "What? Apologize to your sister?" Mark repeated, his voice firm. "This is disgusting behavior, Ethan." Ethan felt like he was drowning. "You're siding with her?" His voice cracked. "She's your sister," Linda snapped. "Family forgives." "Family? Family?" Ethan let out a bitter laugh. "You're telling me to forgive a scam artist? A pathological liar? She stole from us. She stole from you." His father's eyes narrowed. "That's enough." His tone sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. "If you're going to keep attacking your sister, maybe it's best you don't come around here anymore." The words hit like a sledgehammer. Ethan stared at him, heart pounding. "You're kicking me out." Mark didn't even blink. "You're the one making that choice, son." Chloe stood behind them, smirking. She had won. Ethan stood there, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths, his father's words still echoing in his head. "If you're going to keep attacking your sister, maybe it's best you don't come around here anymore." It felt like a physical blow, like someone had reached inside his ribcage and ripped his heart out. This was his father, the man who had taught him how to ride a bike, who had cheered at his little league games, who had stayed up late helping him with school projects, the only person in this house he had ever truly felt close to. And now, he had just chosen Chloe. Ethan let out a shaky laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Wow. Just wow." His father's face was stone cold. "You're being dramatic." "Ethan, I'm being dramatic?" His voice cracked. "She lied about having cancer. She stole from us. From you. And you're just letting it slide?" Mark let out a slow exhale, as if he was the one being burdened here. "Ethan, I'm not saying what she did was right. But she's still family." No, don't pull that family crap on me." Ethan's hands shook with rage. "I have been there for this family. I have worked for this family. And now that I'm finally standing up for myself, you're just, what? Tossing me out like trash?" Linda scoffed, arms crossed. "Nobody is tossing you out, Ethan. But if you can't respect your sister, then maybe some distance is what's best." "Respect?" Ethan's voice broke. "You want me to respect her? After everything she's done?" Chloe's smirk grew wider. "God, this is actually hilarious," she muttered, shaking her head. Ethan snapped his head toward her. "You think this is funny? Class, I do think it's pathetic." She leaned against the couch, arms crossed. "You really thought Daddy was going to take your side? That's cute." His stomach turned. He looked back at Mark. For a moment, just a brief, fleeting second, he prayed, begged for his father to say something, to defend him, to stand up for the son who had never once let him down. Mark didn't even look at him. His father's silence was worse than any slap to the face. That was it. That was the moment Ethan realized he wasn't part of this family anymore. He nodded slowly, swallowing the lump in his throat. "Okay." His voice was quiet. Hollow. I get it now. Mark frowned. Ethan, don't do this. No. No. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. He turned for the door, his body feeling numb, like he was floating outside of himself. Ethan, come on, don't be like this. He paused for a second, his hand on the doorknob. He desperately wanted to turn around, to say something that would make his father snap out of it, to make him realize just how wrong he was. But he knew it wouldn't matter. So instead, he just said, "Goodbye, Dad," and then he walked out. As he stepped outside, the night air was freezing, but it didn't even register. He was shaking, his vision blurry, his chest tight. His father had chosen, and it wasn't him. Ethan walked down the driveway, his feet heavy, his mind blank. The night air bit at his skin, but he barely felt it. His chest was tight, his throat burned, but no tears came. He was past crying. His father had let him walk away. No footsteps chased after him, no voice called his name. He had always believed that no matter what, family would have his back. But tonight, that belief died. He reached his car, gripping the door handle so hard his knuckles turned white. What now? He had no home to return to, no family to call, nowhere to go. His phone buzzed in his pocket. For a second, his heart leapt. Maybe it was his dad. Maybe, just maybe, he had changed his mind. But when Ethan pulled it out, his stomach twisted. Grandma rose. "Ethan, are you okay?" His breath hitched. His fingers trembled over the screen. Was he okay? No, not even close. He had never felt so lost, so discarded, so painfully alone. And yet, someone still cared. His grandmother had always been his safe place. The one person who saw him, not as an obligation, not as an afterthought, but as someone who mattered. And right now, she was the only one who hadn't abandoned him. Ethan inhaled sharply, his hands steadying for the first time that night. He typed out a reply. "Ethan, I don't know. Can I come over?" Her response came almost instantly. Grandma rose, always, for the first time in hours. Ethan felt like he could breathe again. He wasn't alone. Not completely. He started the car, gripping the wheel like it was the only thing anchoring him to reality. As he pulled away from the house that no longer felt like home, he whispered to himself, "Screw them. I still have someone." And for now, that was enough. From that day on, Ethan never set foot in that house again. The walls that had once felt like home were now just a memory, a place where he was no longer welcome. At first, it hurt, not because he regretted leaving, but because they never tried to stop him. His father didn't call. His mother didn't text. And Chloe, well, she was probably laughing at how easily she had won. So, Ethan built a new life. He focused on work. He surrounded himself with people who actually cared. And for the first time in years, he felt free. But some nights, when the world was quiet, the questions crept in. Did Dad ever regret letting him walk away? Did Mom ever wake up and realize she had lost her son? Did Chloe ever face consequences for what she did? One night, his phone buzzed, a number he didn't recognize. He hesitated for a moment before unlocking the screen. Unknown number. "Ethan, Chloe just got arrested. Do you want to help her?" The world stilled. His breath caught in his throat. His fingers hovered over the screen. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan smiled. Without a second thought, he deleted the message, and then he turned off his phone. If the family that betrayed you suddenly needed you, would you go back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories like this one. Now that his story is complete, are you ready for the next one?